Okay, Becky, you should have just gotten an email, which will have the phone number in there, so you could dial in that way. Yeah. I'm sure you're dialing in right now. In the meantime, I just want to say what a gracious person Becky's been. When she was with us, the last time we were allowed to physically be together anywhere and not stuck in quarantine, we came out of California, came into San Antonio. She had her team share with us when we were there. And I was so impressed with the enthusiasm of all the people working for Becky in San Antonio, which is one of the largest districts in the United States. And somehow she's actually pulled into herself some of the most amazing instructional tech folks working with just wild-eyed enthusiasm. I mean, literally one of the gals that I forget her name, Becky will say when she gets on, it's like a bouncing ball of energy. It was just really amazing. So San Antonio's got a team there that is doing also some of the most advanced work that we've found anywhere in the country, just in terms of the sophistication level. And for a large district, that's not always easy to pull off because, you have processes in big districts and, let's just say it, there's sometimes, different departments arguing about other things with you. And so things get wild. Becky, you're there.
I am. Can you hear me now?
Yep. And I'm saying tons of nice stuff about you. So you're going to have to,
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's a little bit of echo there, but go ahead. We have you on. Yay.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the invitation. I did post a link if you don't mind going ahead and just navigating through that link. And so
Okay.
it's just the topic when I got it obviously every single school district right now is experiencing the same kind of pains that we're going through. I did hear you mention our department. Without that team, they have been absolutely phenomenal. We had done, and I'm glad that I jumped in when I was looking at Chris's work on the Addy model versus the new Jedi model, because quite frankly, when we presented last time with you, we had a conversation with regards to our future ready plans. And I will say they're very much in line to your thinking there, because we did start a really different focus in the way that we were seeing technology. And those kinds of experiences for us just totally helped us with what we had to kind of pivot to in the spring and then as we started this school year. So let me just tell the group, we started our implementation with a new learning management system, which typically can take up to 90 days. We've done it within 5 weeks. So our ability to just really be able to get that started was incredible. Just to tell you, our system wasn't even up and running when we had already started professional development. By the time the teachers actually came back for their first week of instruction, we had already trained 70% of our 4,000 teachers. And so it was, and it wasn't one module, it was like 4 days of instruction. And so I just have to say that for us, being able to rely on some of these skill sets that we have really picked up with, within our experience really, really helped us along right now. That doesn't mean that there weren't some bumps in the road, but I'm going to kind of focus the conversation around what, based on what our new learning is in terms of how it connects to what's happening out there, even with software companies. So the presentation that you see here, the language on synchronous, asynchronous, blended instruction, personal, it's now means something to a lot of people, right? In the state of Texas, they did give us an option for accountability to look at how we looked at attendance for students. So our model is to use the asynchronous model. And by doing that, we are able to capture really student engagement at all times of the day, which is a good piece for us because now we're starting to talk to teachers about the idea that instruction doesn't end at the same time that it once did, or that learning stops when the class period is over. And so that's been kind of a real eye-opener for folks when you say, yo, you have to capture if the student was online at 10 o'clock at night. And so that's been a good thing. If you don't mind scrolling down a little bit, I'll show you. I put in 5 different areas that I would say to you we have been dealing with as almost like our new normal. The first one, I will say that in those 5 weeks that I told you we went into a new LMS, which we're using Canvas, we also transitioned into a new SIS and ERP. Like, who does that, right, at the same time? But we did. And so what it has created for us is really to understand the way that those fields are, how we provision our data from vendor to vendor. And if anything, the idea that a district our size would ever engage with any products that are not able to do either one rostering or the ability to look at multiple users in a data set, it's like, in terms of roles, it's just not, it's no longer viable for us. And so to be able to produce the type of work that we need to by the classroom, at the classroom level, there has been such an increase in coordination. So the silos that may have existed in teams like in IT that pretty much handles an SIS, or a talent management group that handle the ERP, and then our side in academics that works with software provisioning, and then the state accountability folks, we had to really come in together, and no more silos there. I mean, it's like you've got to meet, you've got to know how the data's coming and going, and what's happening to that. So that learning has increased, I think, and has created some real efficiencies. But I'm going to say, you know, folks, if you know, I can tell you right now, vendors coming up to me and say this is the greatest product in the world, but it doesn't align itself to our systems. No, it's just too much. The user roles are another thing that we've had to look at accommodating, because when the teachers, you know how you talked about the teachers kind of being in their own space and they're just looking at their own kind of instruction, and they shut the door, and it was kind of, in most cases you saw like some of that, and then until it came to kind of evaluation components or who got to see that. In remote instruction, that's not the luxury anymore, because what you have in effect is, from the account management side, is to really understand and accommodate multiple users to an account. So when you had teachers that would walk into your space as a teacher of record, and they would provide some supports for the students, they never really got to see for the most part, your grade book, your attendance information. They didn't get to see that level of planning that you once, that was really yours. You shared what you wanted to share, what made sense, right? Because you still have to do so much of that with the IEP expectations for students, or whatever could have been a therapist, whatever it was. But now you're looking at taking a management system with an open environment and saying, we need to put in all these people that really support the teacher. So now you're opening the door wide open. It's a very different mindset, but one that's really going to look at how do you provide true aligned services for a student. But these management systems were not necessarily they were not structured to provide that level of support. If you scroll down just a little bit more, Leilani, the other components that I tell you are super rich right now for us, that are becoming, a daily interaction for us, is when somebody says to us on an app integration, oh yeah, we work with that device. Oh yes, this happens. Oh, this works. Oh, that works. Well, not really. This ownership and proprietorship of all this code is a problem for a large organization. So we're now entering into the way that we look at anything now. We are testing everything, because it's no longer taking the word of anyone and saying, yeah, it works, and then to come and find out that no, it doesn't really do that. We just don't have the time. The urgency is so I don't know, it's just so real now. I was talking to a provider yesterday, And I said, what has really, in my mind, like, what was the real difference in the growing pains that you experienced this year as compared to prior years? And I would say that a lot of these digital systems never expected the same 100% implementation and usage. They're used to 40% of a product being out there. Even if you paid for it for every user, your traction may have been 40 to 60%, not at a 100% on day one. And so these things, these apps have to work. All these integration models, the LTIs that are ready to go, they have to really work, and they have to accommodate all these operating systems or different iOSs. They just have to work. The other thing that has changed for us is the whole parent engagement component. You know, in a district our size, one of the things that the folks, you know, in education has really turned things upside down in a way is how you look at early childhood instruction and just the idea of the type of parental support that you need there. But it's not just the turning on of a device, it's actually the navigation within the device, and then learning how to find the app integration and work with that. I have never seen the kind of push that as a district we have done to support parents in these much more professional learning type of sessions. We have run, within the first week, I'm talking about sessions with 400 people in one session that parents jumped in just to get connected to our software provisioning or to get into just the LMS itself. And now we're at the second layer of training where now we're looking at, because this is like thousands of people now, right? So we're now at a point where now we're looking at app integration. How does this function in an iPad? When you work with families that have 4 children, and I've been on these calls myself, right? And I say to them, so tell me what's going on. And they have 4 different types of devices or 4 operating systems on the devices that we have to figure out, okay, let's see how this really, really works. And so that kind of learning just hits you really quickly when you start on day one. And then if you scroll a little bit more, I think the final component for us that I think is a challenge, and I think is a lot of what Chris was talking about, has to do with, when I think of how we did our professional learning this year or this summer, right before teachers came back, like most districts, there are management systems that take a look at, here's the course for the teacher, and the teacher signs up for the course, and then it kind of tracks if the teacher completed the course. But what we did is we wanted to look at a series of courses and be able to know more than anything as we began the school year, like the week that they were supposed to come back, when they returned, could we identify who was going to need the greatest amount of help? Who were the 30% of the teachers that had not gone into any kind of training? So we really needed to track information and the continuity of learning a little different than we had done in the past. And so we did that. We could tell you on a daily basis who had attended, what they had learned, and then we could track the application of that. Who was needing more reinforcement? Who was needing some more support? So that, I think, became really huge. I think for us, the next level is to listen to our teachers, listen to what is the next step for their learning, because what we're seeing now is, and I don't blame them. I'm going to say that right up front. I don't blame them. It's just part of the process, right? Part of the learning process. But in the way that they designed their course instruction, you could tell that when the asynchronous model was what's chosen, there was a thought to almost replicate what they would have been doing as daily instruction. So let me record myself in my instructional piece, and then I'll post it, then you can see it, and then we go to the regular kind of assignments. And so part of our task is to be able to say to them, let's rethink some of that. You don't replicate, if there's not a need to replicate every action that was taken within the normal brick and mortar classroom, but in fact to enhance it with the features that are available in these management systems so that students can demonstrate understanding in a very different way to you. It doesn't have to be a document. It could be a very different approach to gaining understanding and then to demonstrating understanding. So to me, that's the work ahead. It's about aligning what these features can do and then how the teacher can create just a different approach. So your model is aligned to that. I think the other part of it is when teachers went into asynchronous, you know, we talked to them quite a bit. I wrote a big piece too about and spoke to administrators, and I continue to say this. The idea of being so overt in what you need students to do is huge, because if there was ever a time to make an investment on student agency, it is now. About how a student can navigate digital environments, about how the student knows how to access resources, because those 100 questions every class period that were done through a teacher, Miss, how do I do this? It's no longer available. The student has to do that on their own. And then I think the last component is what, again, Chris was talking about. It's what is the new normal now for administrators. Administrators now are challenged with the number of dashboard management tools that they must learn. How do they operate under this new environment for themselves? Because just like I do data crunching all the time, they have to be able to manage that as well. And I think it's in a way there's some ease to it, because you can see the preparation from the teacher side very easily, including the resources and the evidence of learning from the students. So you can see that there's going to be a lot more clarity, but it's still going to be important for them to navigate those sites, to navigate all that information. And so that's the charge for them. That's something that for some it's going to be really, really new. I will tell you that I get a lot of requests in these systems to have a lot of other people involved in that process, but ultimately that administrator has to own that piece and be able to navigate it, to manage it as best as possible. So I guess, Leilani, I'm not sure if this is one of the components that you were thinking of, but are there any questions, or if you'd like for me to address something else?
I'm watching for questions. I haven't had any come in. A lot of what's been happening is people are just interested in really what other people are doing in the minutia of that. So maybe you could talk a little bit about kind of what has happened on the human level as you've gone through this. And I was saying, as we were getting you connected to audio, that you have such an amazing team. Like, they're little balls of energy. And, you know, how they dealt with it, how you led them, you know, how you kept everybody together when everything felt like it was sort of flying apart at the seams. Not that it was that bad for you guys, because, you know, you were, as a district, a bit more organized going into all this. But can you talk about that human level? Because people are really interested in that.
So, sure. So when I mentioned to you that we had done the Future Ready Pathways, we had already been working in that year, that fall, we had launched some one-to-one schools. So we had already been doing a lot of the, almost like a pre-work experience for us. How did we do device management? How do we get professional development in pathways for teachers? So that none of that for us was going to impede anything. I think the part that has become, that becomes a bigger challenge is just the number of people and the urgency to it. And so I think when you have really strong teams and you have the levels of communication that are built and you're collaborating on the work, that you're able to manage those high levels of stress, because that's just inevitable. But I think that we have to approach everything at the user level experience. So what's the novice expectations? What are the proficient, more or somewhat proficient expectations for the learner, so that you can provide a variety of experiences for people? And then know when to, the flexibility that's necessary even at the campus level. We've got some campuses that the teachers had invested a lot more time in tech. So do you take them through the same models, or do you accommodate the need that they have? And you would have to accommodate. And that's what we did. The levels of communication also, wow, that was like huge for us. The levels of communication have had a dramatic increase for us, because there are too many things, there are too many people that need to know about certain aspects of the work. And so it's just become something that for us we've had to be able to do. We did something that we call the teacher toolkit, and typically those are kind of a small ed tech approach to making sure that teachers have the new information. This turned into this huge slide deck, because every time a teacher would say, "And how do I do this?" Boom, it became part of it. And so you're kind of used to our deliverables, Leilani. You can imagine this one. We have done videos and tons of videos, tons of dashboards. Too bad I can't really show them to you, but if let me see if there's still a possibility. Share my webcam. Is security? No, I can't open it. But too bad I can't do that. But we have so much material. We've had a lot of districts that have asked us for our resources, from the parent, from the student, from the teacher, from administrator levels. We just have produced so much product out there to make sure that what even the other systems hold, that they're able to be customized for our teachers, so that our teachers feel comfortable about their learning. We ask that in lesson design they scaffold, and that's the approach that we take as well. We scaffold the learning, make sure they're able to understand it. We expanded office hours. We had weekend office hours, nighttime office hours, you name it. We have done training sessions, forever. It seems like forever. We've even introduced, last week we had lunch and learn, and teachers jump in. So the collaboration has been really, really high. We've collaborated with more departments than we have done, just to be able to provide the level of access that teachers needed, that we had a responsibility for it. But that's what it's been. On the human side, a lot of communication, just a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I've given you presenter status, so you can try to share.
Oh, let me try to share that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if it'll let me do something.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what you said while you're doing that. I'll say this: the art of upping your communication, when people were used to working in little silos, and now they have to be on and questioning and looking over at what other people are doing, and getting on calls all the time, and being responsive. It's like everybody went to hyperdrive nationally.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's really been such a big element for us. I don't know. This is a new computer. I may not have set it up. I just put in a link for you, if you don't mind opening it. But this is a simple. I'm not sure that you'll be able to open any of it, because it's kind of tied to our stuff. But you can get an idea of what it is. Okay. And so if you show it.
Yeah, I have it up, so I just have to take back presenter status to myself.
That's okay. Yeah, it's okay. But you'll notice that even the number of hits that we've had with it, people see these documents. I mean, like, and they're become pretty used to it. So if you scroll down, so we're always kind of having to explain our department, but these are kind of notifications that are going out to teachers, so you can keep going. And it's just about making sure that they're aware, because sometimes like a district buys a lot of material, it gets materials that are resources for them, but what ends up happening is that nobody knows what they are. So you can keep scrolling. and you'll see where it says Canvas Training 2.0. Now we're in a second level of training, but here's a good example for us. Digital citizenship has been something that we're pushing, of course, a lot. But you'll notice when I was talking to you about app integration, iPad doesn't play always nicely with other things. So how does that happen? When Google says it can integrate, let's make sure it can. And then making sure that teachers are using even the features within a product, the native components to a product, without feeling like they have to use everything else. And if you continue to scroll, you'll see the one I just mentioned, which was the Lunch and Learn. And then keep going, and you'll notice
that's
just a
making
whole
me
bunch
hungry. That's
I
making me
know,
hungry.
right? Well, they showed up for those.
I miss San
They showed up.
Antonio tacos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here is an example. Obviously, if you clicked on it, you would see the rest of the stuff. But they're examples of, if this is what you need, app integration, boom, here's the product right away for you. And so, and then that's what you see all the way through. Anytime that they need something, it is like send up to them immediately. You need to know how the iPad and mobile devices work. Boom, here it is. And then these get translated too for parents so that we use things across the board. This toolkit, I'm telling you, it's huge, but it's got everything that people were asking us. Before I knew it, people would say to me, Becky, can you also put this in the toolkit, which I thought was really funny. But if you scroll a little bit more, that family toolkit included ways for us to build agency with our kids and with our parents. How do I submit online work? So our videos became, we translated everything because a lot of these companies don't have them in other languages, right? We translated everything. As soon as the board item was approved and that we had a product, if you keep scrolling down, we notified teachers so that they knew what was available and what was it for, who got it, what were the grade levels. Again, some of the stuff we didn't do in the past. They would wait to see it if it was when it was provisioned, but now it was like, no, you need to know today this is here. You need to know it's coming. You need to know that you have it. And how do you access it? And look for these trainings. I will say that since the spring, I have not heard ever teachers talk about products by name. Like they'll say, I've been using Cami and I need to use Pear Deck. And what about, that's been unusual for us. But again, everything that they need, we're just like pushing so that they have it. And including catalogs for kids, catalogs for parents. Our team does a lot of production on that end so that you can see lots of stuff, right? So that the kids, this catalog, my goodness, if I showed you how this, it's an actual catalog, a digital catalog, but it's got from Chrome, like if you're stuck with not even knowing how to log in, changing out your Chrome, how do you look at analytics as a student, as a teacher, as an administrator? I mean, it's every content subject by grade level and what they have, and it's just quite a plethora of material.
Yeah, and even just the approach to organizing that, like how you visualize all this. This is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
You guys didn't get any sleep, is what I'm thinking.
No, our team didn't. But it's also been pretty recognized in terms of the need for having a team that can support at this level. But it's been a large lift for us, absolutely. So.
Well, you had to have a lot of really creative thinkers and former teachers to actually be able to sequence the understanding of this and make things stand out correctly. And yeah, this is a lot of work. There's only one other district that showed me this level of work in the past 4 months, and that was Central Bucks up by Philadelphia. They did. Yeah, this is amazing.
And we share, we have on our website, so I did a large, we do like a lot of continuity plans and things like that. And so when we knew that we were going to go into asynchronous learning, we built a digital learning plan that was all about lesson design. So it included, from the research level to all of our different modules that we support because we had to teach teachers very quickly how to look at interactivity online. And so we did a digital learning playground in the spring. And so once we looked at the features of a product, so similar to, again, the Jedi model that you have, what is it that you really need and for what purpose? So once we identified that, we were able to take a look at that and then create almost like master templates, train up our curriculum team and get them to do that as well, because they're the ones that go and help the school. So they're like they're the ones that advocate for all of this for us too. So they learned it, they built it, we constructed so many, I think it was 3 months worth of content for summer programming was all done digitally. And so the experience was there. So by the time the teachers came in for our learning management system, that curriculum team was able to build out content ready to go packaging for teachers to use. And so it wasn't limited to here's a document. They were interactive software components that were also placed in there, the CAMIs, the Pear Decks, all of that, so that the teachers, in a way, were kind of had a natural path. Like if you've never used CAMI before, but you wanted that content, you're going to have to learn how to use CAMI and introduce that to your students for annotation software. Things like that happen as a result of it.
Well, we had one comment come in from Paula Camacho. Great resources in one place for teachers and parents. Nice job. She wants to know if we can get this PowerPoint from you. I think it's a link, though, right? So,
well, this one is a link, but we actually do share all of our materials. We share them through the Council of Great City Schools, and so we're happy to always share out. If I'll send you a link to some of our stuff so that they can take a look at that. Happy to do so.
We'll be happy. Paul, if you're still on the line, to share out. We send a post-event summary with links and things that you can download. And then we're going to be doing some share out videos from a lot of the discussions throughout both days, yesterday and today. So this is really awesome. It's at 12:36 right now. Can you stay on a little bit longer? I want to show a video and then I want to come back with a little bit of questions. I've just been instructed by staff I have to show a little video. But I would like to ask you a couple of other things. So if you hang on, I'm going to do that next. Yeah, okay, cool.
Deployment, protection, service, end of life. Welcome to Staymobile's best-in-class solutions for educational organizations of all sizes. In order to keep your students connected throughout the pandemic, your district is likely tasked with managing an entire fleet of laptops to support your one-to-one technology requirements. And while your district's technology needs might be growing, it's likely that your support staff is not. That means you're underprepared to get hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of devices from the boxes in which they shipped, configured, and into the hands of your students. That's where we come in. Staymobile provides the services and solutions that remove or minimize almost every hurdle you'll face, and we do so in ways consistent with CDC guidelines in order to keep you, your team, and your students safe. We begin by looking at the entire device timeline, from purchase to deployment to usage to retirement, each and every step of the process. We then create a tailored solution set designed to alleviate every headache you might face along that continuum. First, we unpack your devices and dispose of the mountain of packaging refuse in green-friendly ways. We then boot up the device, install and configure the software to your specifications, and enroll it into your system. We then apply asset tags, install the high-quality protective case, and deliver it to your location fully charged and in slotted boxes. Next, we offer damage protection, extended OEM service, and a battery and power replacement program with Staymobile Protect, our industry-leading protection and service program, available with and without a protective case. We also provide standalone service solutions that repair, refresh, or facilitate the OEM warranty of your devices. And here's where we get to show off our national service network. Depending upon your location, we can organize pickup and drop-off services or prepaid shipping to and from one of our growing number of Staymobile technology centers. Finally, we can either establish a buyback program that turns your obsolete devices into cash, or we can recycle them for you. And all of these solutions can be configured to meet your specific needs. This approach allows you to effectively and efficiently outsource your device management needs to Staymobile, empowering you to reach and exceed your technology goals in measurable, manageable ways. For more information, please contact your regional Staymobile sales rep, Debbie Jessen, at debbie.sales@staymobile.com, 800-694-1256. Staymobile, your devices, our solutions.
Hi, I'm Tice Miller, founder and CEO of Mobilemind. Mobilemind is the modern professional learning hub that's designed to enable every single teacher to effectively integrate technology like Google into their instruction. In 2015, I started this company to solve the biggest challenge stemming from mobile and cloud technologies hitting the classroom, and that's the lack of adoption by teachers. The traditional means of professional development were falling short in the face of the complexity and the pace of change of all this new tech, and PD suddenly required a new approach. So we partnered with Google. We spent 3 years doing research and development on how to best address this new and growing issue. Today, Mobilemind solves the biggest failure points that prevent teachers from the effective use of G Suite tools, which can negatively affect student outcomes. And some of these include lack of teacher buy-in, no personalization, no time for PD, and now more than ever, the need for accessibility to PD anytime, anywhere. So most districts have accepted that the majority of their teachers weren't completely leveraging their instructional tech tools. And the current pandemic has further exposed this reality. And the new normal means we must ensure all teachers are comfortable with using technology, whether they're in class or remote. Before I show you a short video, let me say this. Mobilemind's not like anything that you've seen before. This is not traditional online learning that teachers don't enjoy. We have taken methodologies such as SAMR and activity-based learning with personalized feedback and infused them into the most innovative cloud-based learning solution. So please contact us for a live demonstration of Mobilemind and learn how we're impacting schools and districts all over the country. Thanks so much and take care.
Google's G Suite and Chromebook one-to-one programs are revolutionizing education like never before. But despite many benefits for teachers, schools, and students, most schools are falling short of their implementation initiatives due to a lack of effective professional development. But how do you effectively cater to teachers with different technological skill levels, learning styles, and schedules? Designed specifically for Google use in K-12, Mobilemind solves these challenges by developing the modern professional learning hub for schools that is personalized, practical, and incredibly convenient for educators. Unlike traditional professional development, Mobilemind is cloud-based, so teachers are able to learn at their own pace whenever they have time in their schedule right from our Chrome extension. And since content is broken down into micro-courses with practical applications, progress can be made minutes at a time instead of committing to hours per session. Mobilemind is tailored for individual users, accounting for skill level and previous knowledge to challenge each educator appropriately. Learners demonstrate competency by completing performance-based Google challenges and receive ongoing individualized feedback from Mobilemind's team of certified educators. Finally, Mobilemind's data and reporting allows teachers to view their individual progress while providing schools and district leaders with the key metrics they need to evaluate the impact of virtual professional development throughout their district. Mobilemind's combination of cloud-based learning and tailored microcourses result in an average increase of 362% in the use of Google in educators' day-to-day teaching. Visit us at mobilemind.io and request a consultation and demonstration of our innovative professional learning solution.
Okay, we're back. Okay, so Becky, one of the things I wanted to ask you, because you saw us talk about this. Are you still there?
I sure am.
Okay, good. You saw us talk about, the logistics future of things. How personalized pathways will become imperative as the mutation and really as technology saturates the landscape. Now, that was before quarantines. And then this mutation for models happened. Districts all over the country, we were talking about this a little bit yesterday, mutating to segmentation, to week and even day rotation, to, days on, days off, remote here, remote there, some kids always remote, having to come in via video conferencing for live classes. It's just been kind of a huge change in time and space. So how much are you feeling that you're going through sort of like a mutation in terms of your structure, not just to facilitate resources, but also, the human structure behind that? Like, are you seeing places where there's going to be service need that maybe isn't being met by structure, and there's going to be a need to sort of shift some other things around? What's happening on that structural side?
So I think there's some things that we're discovering, right? Because this whole situation has, it really has pushed us to think about ways in which learning can occur in a very different look. So the whole idea of hybrid, does the teacher teach remote and in person, or do you get a teacher that provides the remote instruction while another teacher is doing the in-person? So that kind of team teaching, co-teaching model has kind of changed, right? So, and then how do you support students with other needs? Where are all the other additional supports? So just those typical structures are being redefined. Is there a way in which you can take some of the more pivotal instruction that you would want to have as a district level piece for new teachers, let's say, and do it as a district model of instruction, as opposed to, like one master teacher that's supporting that? Or do you create it the way that you normally would, that you might make a module and send it out, or do you direct instruction? I think a lot of those conversations are being held right now. And part of that is because, as time goes by, we're still going to see more retirements. We're going to see teachers who cannot return for X reasons, right? They may not be able to come into in-person instruction, and so that has to provide us with a very different approach to the way that we conduct daily instruction, right? How do we accommodate those needs? And so as a district, we are phasing in, like next week is our first 10% of our students coming into each of the buildings. And then every 2 weeks after that, we're bringing in an additional 10%. So again, those typical models that we had are going to be stretched because we are using our faculty in some cases in a different way that is not traditional. My teachers still want to be with their kids. They want, they want to remain the teacher of record for their students. But I just had a conversation with a principal a few days ago where we were discussing co-teaching within just the learning management system. How do you safeguard? How do you make sure that you've got more than one teacher assigned to a content just in case? Because you're still remote. The majority of your kids are remote. What happens if the teacher can't come back for a time? What do? You can't stop instruction. You can't. So how do you create a very different sense to have that program continuity without any kind of impediments that may surface down the road? So I don't know that we've designed every available structure, but I know that we have the technology that can support a variety of them.
Yeah. And so that's the conversation that you just had with that principal, Becky, that we're seeing start to, coalesce nationally around, because the core of that conversation is use of space and use of time.
Right.
And so then, because in mutation, most school districts have put the brick and mortar movement of students class to class and being on campus straight into Zoom. That's what most districts have done. And it's been sort of a huge catastrophe for a lot of places because, we had one superintendent say, he had a parent call in and say, we got 100 emails today. I think they had 3 kids at home. And being on Zoom meetings all day, every day for one of his teachers, right? Like the teacher was literally on Zoom for like 8 hours a day, which is ridiculous. It's like, and then doing all their planning at night. So that the mutation that you're already in, where you have and we've had other districts talk about this, sort of like there's a lesson partitioning going on within blocks.
Yeah.
But then is important. But what I'm saying is that there's also this coalescence to how do you flip the structure entirely so that your service structure of teaching it's at the back end rather than the front end. And so I'm looking at a lot of systems with relation to that, and we're going to talk more about that in the next hour if you're able to stay on. I'm grateful that you've been on as long as you have. I know how busy you are, so I'm so grateful. But the only other thing I want to, bring up with you is the metrics that you're looking at so far, and what your prediction is as you head into the back end of fall. What you're going to see. Have you guys thought about that? How this is working?
So yes, because one of the things was, again, the fact that we placed people on an LMS, and we did give them some safety. Like for instance, teachers in the spring that were working with early childhood, they were using Seesaw. So that's actually a really easy platform to use for them. So they were really comfortable with that. And I will say our superintendent and our deputy superintendent have been just, trailblazers when it comes to trying to be very proactive about how much support we give the schools and how much structure we can provide. And so with that in mind, I didn't want to give any teacher like rubrics at the beginning of, here is the model LMS online course. It should have yada yada yada. We didn't do that. We had them look at the work from master teachers that had worked with us for about 3 weeks, and so they shared a lot of their content. The teachers still could design any way they wanted to. There's lots of creativity. We've seen a lot of it, but I think for us as we move forward, we do need to ensure quality of instruction. And so we're going to have to move into the metrics, the rubrics, the evaluation of content, assignment, assessment instrument. All of that is going to have to occur. But we're going to tread carefully, and we're going to tread with the, with teachers in mind. They've had, their learning curve has been huge. The amount of expectation for them has been increased dramatically. And so we know what the outcome needs to be, but we need to be able to work with them and build it out together, and not a top-down thing.
Okay. Yeah. So you're already feeling like you went through the period where it was a rush to deliver on everything you could deliver, and now it's like refinement mode will be coming.
Totally. Yes, totally. And they know that. I mean, part of that is that our lessons, like our professional development, because our professional development continues, right? But when as we move into those products, they're not going into a refinement phase. It's not like, I don't want us to end up saying, here's your checklist of what you have to have in there. I'd rather you learn how to, some components at a time, and say, this is how you refine this. And let's say what difference this is going to make. Now, from another angle, from the administrators, our training with them is a little different, because they are evaluators. And so for them, we're going to push a lot on the student agency component first. Does the student have the tools and the understanding from any site, from any instruction, to do the work that you're asking them to do? So part of that is, what does engagement look like? Are they getting online? Are they seeing the work? Are they looking at the work? Is the work rich enough for them to do that? So they have a different spin than what the teachers have, because they're still the first level of support for teachers. The coaches are there, so it just, the model is a little different. Yeah,
and then on this other angle, have you guys experienced AWOL kids that they're just not arriving, or any sort of...
but that's happened with every single district, where you're still looking for some students. I mean, our numbers were really good in the spring. this district in the last 2 years has transitioned to online registration. Thank goodness for that, because we actually started with higher registration numbers at the beginning of the year than we have in the past, but we're still missing some students. And interestingly enough, a lot of the larger majority of students that we end up missing, we had an increase in secondary, but the ones that are in early childhood, the pre-K students, the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds are the ones that have the enrollments that we need to recapture. And those also are the ones that need the most parental help,
Well,
right,
yeah.
to get online.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And they also click on everything with their little fat fingers and
Right,
go
but
into the raw.
they actually need somebody right there with them, you know,
Yeah,
to
and
help them.
therein lies the rub with a lot of parents going back to work, you know, so yeah, it's been
So,
sort of
but I will
wild.
tell you, right, so what I'll tell you is that as a district, when I said to you that next week we start the in-person and into the schools, the groups that we're targeting first are the children that need the greatest assistance, and that would be one of the groups.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of school districts have had to be with some cohorts on campus this whole time because their parents were first responders, even New York. Yeah, so it's been kind of wild. Well, it's been really, really delightful having you. I want to thank you so much.
Absolutely.
For not just, you know, for being a friend of the Learning Council and a fabulous Edu Jedi yourself, you know, but for all your work, you know, and could you please tell your team, you know, congratulations, fabulous, well done, pat on the back.
I will certainly share that with them. I will let them know that our Jedi has spoken.
Yes.
I will let them know. I will let them know. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. You know, see you next time, or feel free to stay on. I'm gonna check my other final hour panelists are all here and get rolling on our final discussion, what's going on. So thank you again.
All right.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.